Welcome to the Moffitt Method Podcast, where longtime strength and conditioning coach Tommy Moffitt explores everything from the art of coaching, improving performance, sports nutrition, and mental training. Now, welcome your host, Coach Tommy Moffitt.
Welcome to the Moffitt Method Podcast, and I am your host, Tommy Moffitt. If you're listening for the first time, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, and please share it with a friend. Our distinguished guest today is Coach Blake McCall. Coach McCall is the head strength and conditioning coach at Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama. Coach McCall spent a short time working in the private sector before being hired at LSU in 2019 as a strength and conditioning intern. Coach McCall was soon hired as a full-time assistant coach and worked with our beach volleyball, swim, dive, and football teams. In college, Blake played offensive line for one season at Jackson State University before transferring to West Florida University in Pensacola. Blake finished his football career playing for the West Florida Argonauts, where he earned his degree in physical education in 2017. Blake is originally from Century, Florida, and attended Northview High School. Coach McCall is an amazing young strength coach, and I'm super excited to have him on our podcast today. Welcome to the podcast, Blake. How are we doing?
What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So for the listeners, Blake and I have already done this podcast once, okay? But we had some serious technical difficulties, so we're going to redo it here, and this time we're going to get this stuff done right, okay?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, so now we got some different questions, though. It's not the same podcast as it was last time. So we're going to talk about some different stuff than the first time, but I'm fired up for it. This is a great guy right here. Super proud of all that he's accomplished. So here we go. All right, first question. All right, first question of every podcast I do, and I think it's a great question because it gives young strength coaches, it gives people that are thinking about getting into the field an idea of what a person's journey looks like. So the question is, what led you to the field of strength and conditioning, and how or who may have influenced you along the way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I have a little different route maybe than a lot of other coaches I know. The guy I think that influenced me the most so far has been, Ty Wise, who was my, he was my offensive line coach in high school, strength coach, kind of like the father figure for me. I didn't have a clue about lifting, didn't have a clue about any of that growing up. Somehow he ended up at the high school I went to up in the Panhandle. And man, he was great. And he's still great. He's he's at Pace High School now, training those kids. His son is like unbelievably strong. He's gonna be
15-year-old man.
Yeah, like big too, like ginormous. I think
So we're talking about Ty Wise, who I coached at the University of Miami. He played center for us. I actually coached against him in high school, and then I coached him as a collegiate football player. And I know that he played a huge role in Blake's life because he is the person that introduced me to Blake. And he kept telling me about this guy, about how great he was and how tough and hard-nosed he was. He was lying about that part of it. But he told me, he said, this guy's going to be a great strength coach someday. And sure enough, he was correct. But Ty has a daughter who is really strong. And I think she's a senior at Pace High this year, correct? And then he's got a son that's 15, so he's probably a freshman or a sophomore. Mm-hmm. Freshman?
I think he's in the spring of his freshman year.
Yeah, who is really strong, putting up some big numbers, and they're weightlifters too. So, in addition to playing other sports, so yeah, we all know Ty.
Yeah, and he more than just football coaching for me is like the weights, and then it was funny. He tweeted a video of him working with Grant, and I watched the video and I was like, damn, like I remember doing these same drills for days and hours. Cause
Oh yeah,
I would
the
have to go
O-line
home.
drills.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the O-line drills. Cause he would, like, I didn't have a ride back and forth to school. So like the only rule was he would take me home, but I had to go with him to his house first and do all those drills. Then he would take me home. So it was every day was just something else, just drill. And it's good. I'm glad, it's I never knew I could say like no. It's always like,
Yeah.
well, let's go do it. Yeah. He's been great, and I kind of he's the one that brought me. Obviously, you said he introduced us, but I wasn't even in the field of strength and conditioning. I graduated college, went started training people, kind of stayed around it, but I had my own job in the tech world and was doing my thing and making pretty good money. And he called me out of the blue. It was like, hey, LSU's got an intern spot open. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah, how much does it pay? It's like, no. He's like, you got to go earn that. And he's like, but it'll be a great opportunity. And I honestly, I didn't think twice. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I'll be there, So put my 2 weeks in, told Carisha, I said, hey, you may hate me, but we got to move to Baton Rouge. And she didn't hesitate. She was like, all right. So got to Baton Rouge in May, the beginning of May, and then we started training and made it work. Stayed there as long as I could.
And did a great job. Did a phenomenal job. And you mentioned your fiance. She's a phenomenal young coach's spouse, and she offers you support. And, and that's one of the things that has influenced me and influenced a lot of people that we often take for granted is the amount of work that our spouse has to put into work so you can do what you love to do. And just like you, we all started off in some way as a starving artist before, we got paid or got paid enough to survive on. Yeah. And during that time, my wife supported me. And
that's what I told her. I was like, I got enough money for 3 months. So we go in May. I'll sign a sublease. But August comes around, we got to figure it out. She was like, okay. And she was actually finishing her master's at the time. And, we got to LSU, Coach Nader got her a job at some clinic there in Baton Rouge. And, she put her head down and kind of, she's the one that paid the bills for the longest.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't be here without any of that, obviously. And you know that.
Yeah. And, you mentioned Coach Nader, or he really is a doctor, Dr. Sam Nader. But Coach Nader worked in our administration department for football at LSU, and he helped many interns, spouses, and interns get jobs. In fact, Thane, who is one of your assistant coaches, he had Thane a job, correct?
Yeah, he had me a job too. He got me a job. We worked in season. We had the days we didn't train. I got to go work from like 6 to 12. So he was great.
Yeah, he helped out a lot of dudes, man. I see him every once in a while. I still see him, man. We bump into each other. You never know where you're gonna bump into Coach Nader. Okay,
now, he was all those staffs too, right? He was with all the Nick Saban and all those guys.
Oh yeah, no, so if I'm not mistaken, he came to LSU in 1972 to coach the freshman football team. Back then, there was freshman coaches. He played football at Auburn University. Now, he's from Shreveport, but he played football at Auburn University for Vince Dooley before Vince Dooley became the coach at Georgia. And so Coach Nader came to be one of the freshman coaches at LSU. And then I think he coached the varsity team for a while, and then he moved into recruiting. He became, the recruiting coordinator, and then he worked his way into administration. I don't know if you work your way into administration or you get put into athletic administration in football, but that is one of the hardest jobs that I think is in football. The guy that's in charge of football operations, the FOB person, is a tough responsibility. And Coach Nader did it with a smile.
Oh, yeah.
So for all of our listeners, every football program has this guy that is the heartbeat of the program. And for us, forever. He worked for everybody that was the coach here. He worked for Charlie McClendon, all the way from Charlie McClendon to Coach Orgeron, and then he retired. But he was the heartbeat, man. If you needed anything, go see Coach Nader. Great man. Great man. All right, so now that we're talking LSU, before we get to Jacksonville State, I thought it would be great to hear about the time that you spent training the nationally ranked LSU beach volleyball team. Phenomenal team. Anybody that knows anything about beach volleyball knows that the Tigers are dominant. Mm-hmm. So can you take a minute to talk about the kind of athletes that they were and how you trained them?
Yeah, no, there was, that team was awesome. And I think you kind of instilled in us as interns and going through the paid intern and the full time is whatever team you get, you treat them like they're your football team. And that's what I did. I trained them. We trained hard. We trained smart. We cleaned. We squatted. We deadlifted. We snatched. We sprinted. We did everything. I think, that's one of the more competitive sports and mindsets I've been around. And I don't know if it's because it's like 2v2, two people on the court or on a team at one time. I don't know. But like that team at LSU was ultra competitive. So it was super fun to train them. Freak athletes, if you think you're an athlete, go run around the sand, do some jumps and move around and then come back and tell me how good you feel.
You played a little beach volleyball yourself, didn't you?
I had to, because I wrote out the program like an idiot. I wrote it out like 8 weeks in advance, had everything planned out, and like day 3, me and Connor, who's at ULL now, kind of looked at it and was like, all right, this ain't working. We got to figure out what's going on. So I made him and we went and practiced with him one day in the sand. And I was like, okay, I get it now. So I understand. And, and sometimes that's what it takes, you got to see kind of what your guys are going through, what your girls are going through, and, program it out from there. But no, they were great. It's been, honestly, I tell everybody this, it's the biggest blessing for me programming wise, having that team. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but now, it was huge because definitely different demands for that type of sport. Change of direction, the ability to really like power conditioning and this repeat jump ability and things like that. But freak athletes, ultra competitive. 2 of the girls I trained are like number 1 in the country right now. They're traveling all over the world. Kristen Nuss and Taryn Clough. They're traveling all over the world, sponsored, doing their thing. So really, really good experience and really helped me now, makes programming pretty easy once you program for a beach volleyball team.
Yeah. And, so he mentioned earlier at the beginning that I told him to, treat them like they were his football team because, everybody, and I'm not going to say everybody, but I'd say 80% of every young man or young woman who gets into strength and conditioning at some point in their career thinks, I want to be I want to be a collegiate football strength and conditioning coach. But in order to get there, you have to take those steps. Mm-hmm. And one of them is training Olympic sport teams. And so that's what I told every person, that before you become a college football strength coach, you've got to train other people and treat them as if they were your football team, right. and good things will happen. And sure enough, man, God, they took off.
Yeah, they were phenomenal.
And you had a great coach that you worked for too.
Oh yeah, Coach Russell. Yeah, he's great. He's still there. I think they're ranked 5th right now in the country. He really was bought in too. That was the best part. Yeah. I think I see it now on the football side. Is once you get buy-in from the coach and they're bought into the weight room, everything else is going to fall in line. They make the weight room important the athlete, it'll be important to the athlete. So
Yeah.
he was huge. You know, he always asked about the data and the jumps and the polar and things like that. So it kept me on my toes. So yeah, it was really, really good combination.
Yeah. All right. So now you're going into your second year at Jacksonville State. How did the first year go? And how much has changed since last year? Oh, you had to take your hat off and rub your head on that one.
Oh man, it was good. It was a lot. I know that when you're coming up, I think it's different for me because I was an intern 4 years ago, 4 years ago. So I remember being an intern and sitting there like, you know, I'll be ready. Now I'll do all this, and then you get there and it is it's different. But it's been great, man. We had a good first year. The kids, we were FCS school. We're going up to Conference USA now, but they were FCS. And with them, the tough part was when I got here, they pretty much played 3 seasons in a row. So they hadn't had an off season or a summer program.
Yeah, explain that. Explain how that went.
Yeah. So, you know, when COVID hit, FCS decided we'll have a spring season. So they went in 2018, they played in the fall, or excuse me, 2019 played in the fall. COVID hit, and they're like, okay, we'll play in the spring. So everybody's off for COVID, and they played in the spring. And then the following fall rolls around. I think they said they had 32 days between their last game of the season, of the spring season, and their first game the next season. They had a 32-day camp. So,
Wow.
so they rolled right into the fall. And, you know, then I got here that spring, and it was like, we were just, I mean, they were beat up. Like, and obviously they should be. You know, there's no strength program in the world that can really develop anybody. You got 32 days between seasons.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, I felt for the guys, but they were so eager. They were so eager to be a part of something and be developed, and they were ready to be coached and coached hard. And so, you know, the first year was fun. It was learning a lot from on both ends, me learning, them learning. You know, I think the first 3 weeks, I don't know if a warm up was less than 45 minutes. You know,
Yeah.
we spent a lot of time on the warm up, a lot of complexes, just general strength work that you know we were lacking. But you know, we got stronger. Rolled into the summer, had a good summer. Didn't get too carried away with anything. Kept it real, very basic. And then obviously had a good season, had a good fall. Won the conference, won 9 games, won 9-2. Sorry, went 9-2. And now we're week 6 of spring ball this year. So
now during the season, y'all played a mix of FCS and what do they call it?
FBS
Championship. Yeah, bowl. What is it?
FBS and FCS.
Yeah, FBS. Yep. So yeah, you played a half of FCS and a half of FBS.
Right. So yeah, we played. Well, really, we only had one FBS game this year.
Okay.
We played at Tulsa. Went all the way to Tulsa. Everything else was FCS, but we couldn't be in the playoffs. We were, you know, we couldn't do any postseason or anything like that, which, you know, was tough, but it is what it is. But doing that now, we can go right to we don't have to take a ban this year. So right. We win 6 games, we're going to a bowl game.
Yeah, Conference USA.
Conference USA. Yeah.
That is awesome. So let me ask you a question. So when the season was over last fall, how much time did y'all take off before you started training?
So we ended the season the week before Thanksgiving. And, you know, the whole school's off. So after we ended the season, they went home. That last game, they went home for that week. Coaches, we went home. Like, it's the first Thanksgiving I think I've had, like, home in a while. So got to go see grandma and things like that. So they took that week off. We came back and trained for 2 more weeks. So 2 good weeks of training. You know, any injury guys we had, we kind of took care of them. And then we had all of December off, and then January 9th was the first day we lifted. But I think it was really good for the guys that were so banged up. Like we had some shoulder guys, some ankle guys. Well, we didn't have many ankle guys, shoulder guys, and a couple knee guys that really needed that time off. Whereas if we'd made the playoffs and made a run, I don't think they'd have been ready on the 9th, So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Yeah, it always is, especially with the football bowl series. And, you remember in 2019, man, and I don't remember the date that we played on, but it was a week and a half later, the guys are back in the weight room. The train kept a rolling.
Or football school,
Yeah. Train kept a rolling, man. And brutal schedule. That's kind of like playing 2 seasons in a row, and it takes a lot of confidence for a coach to say, let's take 2 weeks off and not do anything. And while everybody else in America's training, man, it takes a lot. And 2 weeks would be the minimum. But, you got to get ready you got recruiting, then you got spring football. I mean, you got spring football, then you got recruiting. Yep. So, signing date. So, you have recruiting, then spring ball, and then May recruiting. So the calendar for guys that go to bowl games, and if you're blessed to be in a conference championship, and then you make the semifinals and you head off to playing a national championship game, man, that's a lot of wear and tear on guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, Coach Richard, he met with me and asked, what do you think? And I was like, Coach, 4 weeks will be good. These guys need 4 weeks. And I think it's funny because the players, they don't know. Like, they're asking, Coach, where's the packet? What are we doing? What do you want me to do? And I'm like, guys, listen, I'm going to give you a workout packet. You just pick 3 workouts, you do them a week, and I promise you we'll be okay. Like, you need to just go kick your feet up and relax. But, no, it was huge. Like I said, we hit the ground running on the 9th.
They were eager to get in there.
Oh, they were ready.
And it sounds like you got a really good group of kids, man.
Oh, they're awesome. They love football. And I know a lot of people say, like, oh, we got hard workers. But we really – like, if you don't work hard, you will not make it. You will stand out so bad here.
Yeah.
And it's, for a coach, it's like, I'm not worried about coaching effort. That's every day for them. So, a really good group of kids. Really, they were really eager to learn. And then obviously coming from LSU, I could have wrote whatever. I could have wrote we ran 10 miles a day, and they'd have been like, all right, let's go. They were just like, that's what those guys are doing. I said, let's go. So, it was awesome. And they're putting it together. We got some guys. Had a guy run 23.3 miles an hour, as fast as I've seen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Laser down on the GPS. So, like a 0.87 10-yard fly. So we got some guys. That can roll.
Yeah. Blake sent me a picture the other day of some cats that were bowed up.
Yeah.
They had bumps sticking out everywhere on their body.
Yeah, man.
Those were some skill position players. They look like it too, man. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you're doing. And, so just a few years ago, the big schools were starting to get force plates and GPS and NOR boards and, velocity-based training systems and all of this. And you're blessed to be in a position where you have all of that. Can you just start with something that's basic, something like the force plate, and tell us what you're looking at and how you use that with the team? Right.
Yeah. So, we have Hawkins dynamic force plates here. Mm-hmm. We have Ball at LSU. We use them very similar. We jump every day we lift. The guys are programmed. Their rack goes, they come back, next rack goes, things like that. So very seamless. Doesn't take a lot of time. I usually have a GA or an intern jump them. Very simple. And kind of what we're looking at now, and divide it up into two different parts. So right now, I'm really looking at, people call them KPIs, so performance indicators. We're looking at power.
What do you
jump.
call it? What do you call it?
Well, I call them KPIs, but
Okay.
I don't look at, when we go in season, I look at response indicators more so than performance.
Yeah, I wanted to hear you say that. My heart goes pitter patter when you say stuff like that.
So right now, just looking at, RSI is a big one, or modified RSI. We look at that. We track that. We track jump height, peak power. I'm big on impulse. I know some people don't look at it. I look at concentric impulse, or propulsive is what they call it here. Propulsive impulse, same thing. And then I start looking at impulse ratio. So
yeah, that's the ratio between the eccentric and concentric impulse.
Yep. So those are my big five I look at right now. And obviously, any rehab guys we got, we're checking the asymmetries and things like that, and having them in their return to play to see where we're at. But yeah, right now we're just, I need to make sure we're getting bigger, faster, stronger, and those jumps will tell me that. And the players love it. Like, they're going to ask me every week, where am I at? Did I go up? And you could start to kind of look at that, and with other technologies, with the GPS and things like that. But even if you just have the plates, like simply looking at, pick 5 metrics that you deem important and monitor them and see, well, this is what a hard day did. This is how we responded. Or, was our light day really a light day? Was our high day really a high day type thing? And then as soon as those numbers, the big thing is, and I called you about this, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. You can't freak out if the numbers start going down. Like, they should go down. Like, there should be a period of 3 weeks to 4 weeks in your block where they're going like this.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to get any adaptation.
Right. You're disrupting homeostasis.
Yeah. I think you said it, or it had to have been you, about undertraining and overtraining are exactly the same. Look the same.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing you can't do. In my opinion, it's like flip out. I see everybody flipping out. It's like the number of jump average went down on a Thursday. Well, that's okay. Let's look at it in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, I won't make too many adjustments right now. If I check our February jumps and we are trending down for the whole month, then I'll go back and we'll figure out, okay, where are we at? But it's a little different in season. I think in season you can be a little bit more selective and nitpicky in terms of, if you see some trends, you really need to get involved sooner than later. But as long as you're okay and you've planned for that, like, that you're not just going to go up the whole time. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Or they'd jump over the moon.
Yeah. So I think, and that's how we use the plates. We keep it simple. I don't dive into a bunch of different metrics, because you can get lost. A few of the coaches love it. Like, they'll ask me about it, so that's really good. Especially our receivers coach. He's big on the MRSI. He don't really know what it means. I just told him it's an athletic score. The higher, the better.
Yeah.
So, they'll come down and ask sometimes, but we're always going to jump. We're going to jump every day we lift. And then in season, we'll jump 3 times a week. We lift on Sunday, we lift on Tuesday, so those will be our 2 jump days. And I actually take the plates down to the field on Thursday. And as soon as they walk off the practice field, they get their jumps in, just so I can see where we're at closer to game day.
Right.
I liked how we lifted on Thursdays at LSU. I felt like you got it really good. You could really see where you were at. Whereas we're kind of more front loaded here, but nonetheless, same thing.
Yeah, the Thursday workout, because it offers, that's why we did our cleans and stuff. And, it offers you an opportunity to really see where they are dynamically speaking. And that's cool and that's the good thing about the Hawkins plates. They're a lot smaller than the ones that we had. And they're Bluetooth also, correct?
Bluetooth, yep.
Yeah, where ours we had so many wires. Yeah, how about those wires, man?
Like a laboratory, man.
Yeah.
Every morning, taking them out, plugging them in, making sure that it ain't too tight. Got to tape them up. Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. So, did y'all practice the jump strategy. Tell me about that. Like, how do you standardize the test, or do you allow them to jump naturally, or do you control their jump strategy and how they perform the counter movement jump for testing?
Yeah, the only thing we do, and I tell all my coaches this, I say we're not going to overcoach the jump. I don't want anybody to because you can manipulate it. You can manipulate the jump. Jordan Drasfitz tried to manipulate his jumps to be higher than mine when we worked together, and it just he couldn't figure it out. But I tell the coaches, don't overcoach it. Hands on your hips, dip down and jump. I don't want to think about speed. I don't want to think about how much time I spend on the ground. I want it to be completely natural. And some kids I think have figured it out, but I think as long as you don't overcoach it, just have them be natural, hands on the hips the whole time, you'll get a good representation and really see where they're at.
Yeah. Any single leg jumps or anything else, squat jumps or anything else?
I got something we're working on. I think you'll like this too.
All right, good.
So with these Hawken plates, you can split you can stagger them like this.
Mm-hmm.
So the cord is actually really long. So you remember the mid ISO thigh pull we did?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do something like that, but it's going to be from a split stance. So we're going to pull left foot up, pull right foot up, and I'm going to see the difference, and then just see how strong we are. Really off one leg, and just another. And I called the Hawkins guys and I was like, "Hey, is this going to work?" And they're like, "Listen, if you can create it in your mind, it'll probably work." I said, "Okay, perfect." So
good.
That's what we're doing. We did drop jumps. Actually, the first set of plates I got, I had a GA. His name's Crew. He was 6'8", 330 at the time. Did a drop jump. Man, he didn't understand that he's not a normal sized human. So he does a drop jump off a 36-inch box and just knocks the plate. Top of the plate, smashed it. Down to the bottom, smashed it.
Big man.
Big man. So we did some drop jumps and things like that. But really, just the counter movement jump. I do a vertical jump on Friday now. I threw that in there. It used to be our back squat day, heavy back squat. So I was like, well, I'll get some type of potentiation out of it. You do a heavy single, then go do a vertical jump on the plate, and then you got a number you can try to beat. And so Fridays they'll do 2 counter movement jumps and then a vertical jump.
Oh.
Yeah, then we'll have the jump height from the vertical on the TVs.
Yeah.
They'll get to see where they're at. It's been pretty good. We've went up a half inch every Friday so far. So pretty cool there. That's really as different as we get in terms of the jumps.
All right. What about GPS?
So we use Connexon here. I think they're growing. They're starting to get a little more places. Coach Dillman is.
Shout out Jeff Dillman.
Yeah, he's kind of running that. So we use Connexon, very similar, more to Catapult. You can get heart rate, but in my opinion, it's not as accurate as you get from Polar, obviously. But yeah, anytime we run, whether it's our speed program in here, our conditioning program, or even skill development at practice, they're going to wear them. We track everything. I have different thresholds and yardages I like to hit. So yeah, anytime we run, we're wearing them. So that way I can see, high speed yardage and things like that. And then in season, obviously we're wearing for practice and games, but then I start really comparing the total load to our jumps. I start looking at, is there a inverse relationship? There's, where
and there is, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah, except for you got your race horses, so you got your guys. It don't matter the load; they're gonna be okay. Like the Clydes and guys like
Freak
that.
Show. Yeah. Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I know. We got
Jamar.
2 of those. Yeah. So you got your race horses, but no, there's definitely an inverse. That load spikes up, the jumps are gonna plummet. So it's really being able to see that, and then kind of diving into. All right, coach, this is what you can expect if we're going to have this, So, but right now, just the big thing right now with the GPS is our high speed days, man. Like I've
Yeah.
talked to you about it millions of times. I want to make sure
Yeah.
we're, touching those high speed yardages, and we're using
And you have
GPS.
thresholds for those for all the different positions. And now
Yes,
the max velocities that you have, that's individualized for each kid, correct?
yes. So
Yeah.
that's a really cool thing ConnectSign does is as soon as it's going to update every metric. So they hit a new PR, a new top speed, that's now their 100%.
So you don't have to go in there manually and do it yourself.
Nope. And they'll
That's
tell
great.
me like this kid ran at 96% of his max speed. Perfect. That's what I wanted,
Yeah. That is
so it's
amazing.
Really, yeah. It's really
Shout out Jeff Dillman. Now, Chris White works for ConnectSign too.
Yeah.
I think Chris,
he deals more on the West Coast, I believe.
yeah, I think he's the brains behind the operation though.
Hey, I've talked to some guy that lives in Germany. His name is Carl. I don't know his
Yeah.
last name, but he's like their data scientist.
Sharp guy.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Shout out, Carl.
Yeah, Carl from ConnectSign in Germany.
That is awesome. Now, we'll talk about that later. All right. Do y'all have NOR boards?
We don't have NOR boards. We got Elite Form. We got a BBT.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you a NOR board question. All right. Wait, what are you laughing for?
I know it's
okay. How many? I guess I was 58 at the time. Okay.
58.
How many 58-year-olds have you tested that had a similar peak force as me?
I think you're the guy. You're the only.
Yeah.
You're the only
How many?
58-year-old.
All right. How many guys did we test at LSU? How many staff members? 12.
Yeah, every 12. Everybody did it.
All right. Tell the audience where I ranked, and be honest.
I think you were fourth.
You think I was fourth?
Yeah.
Who beat me?
Dane was first. I was second. Who was third? I think Travis was third, and then you were fourth.
Oh, Travis?
You remember but he probably manipulated it. I don't remember.
Yeah. Now, well, Travis spent a great deal of time lifting for Coach Hatch, so I believe that.
There you go. Yeah,
I believe that.
But
so Travis has done some slow eccentric pulls, and trust me, Travis did his fair share of RDLs, good mornings, and slow eccentrics with isometrics at every position known to man. Coach Hatch killed them on some pulls, so I believe that. So I was fourth. All right, good. All right, now that we got that out of the way, it's important that everyone knows that I have a very powerful set of hamstrings, and that's why I was the athlete that I was past tense. All right, so now let's talk about Elite Form, man. Let's talk about what you look at, how you use it, and now you have three things. You have force plate, GPS, and a way of monitoring the load and the velocities of all the stuff that you do in the weight room. How do you use that?
Yeah, so right now in season, we don't go completely velocity based, but we pretty much go completely velocity based. So in season, I won't even put a percentage. I'll just have a velocity I want to hit. But right now, really just tracking to see, are we getting stronger? How are we moving weight? What do our good lifts look like? What do we do real well? And then what do we not do real well? And then we're getting towards the tail end of this block. So, I got a few singles programmed up there, but the guys know, like, if they don't hit above a certain velocity, I'm not letting them go up.
Yeah.
So we use it as kind of like a safety tool.
A break.
Yeah, just to, you don't hit it above 0.34, then you're done.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I like Elite Form. I think Perch did it maybe, but I don't remember. They had this competition mode. So I set thresholds on mine on the computer. And then let's say we're doing, like, for example, we were doing sumo deadlifts yesterday, and I had the peak power as the competition metric. And guys were just, if one guy hits the most power, it flashes gold on everybody's screen.
Oh, wow.
So then the guy 3 racks down sees it. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to beat that. And it just turned into like big competition. The guys were moving weight unbelievably fast.
And you can do that with sumo.
Oh, yeah. Especially with some of the squatty guys we have, the short, stocky guys. But even on back squat, man, back squat's probably our best lift. And guys will just that bar just be wobbling at the top because they want to get on the record board.
Yeah.
So it's competition, man. It's the name of the game. So, and Coach Richard loves it too. He's a big competitor. He wants a winner and a loser for everything. Like they don't we're tying the shoes. He wants a winner and a loser. So, it's good. He loves it. And I love the guys love it. They know, every day they come in, which we do the same with the the force plate. So I have the week
the leaderboard.
Yeah, leaderboard.
And it's amazing that at a former FCS school, you have that ability, which is really good. Yeah, it shows a commitment from the administration to the coaching staff all the way down. It trickles down, and the other sports there get to take advantage of those opportunities as well. So
absolutely,
everyone benefits.
Our golf team gets after it probably harder than any other team, man. They love the elite form because they'll get on that trap bar deadlift and just everybody loves the trap bar deadlift. I do too, but golf team really loves the trap bar.
Yeah, and they're going to be smashing balls this spring.
Oh, dude. Yeah, they get after.
They're the guys that hit it off the back net at what's the golf place? Top Golf. Yeah. They're the ones that hit it off the top net or back net, which I can't do. So as strong as my hamstrings are. All right, let's go back to the Nord board real quick. So I beat Jordan, Jake, Tim. Well, that's not saying a whole lot. Sorry, Jeremy. Who?
Connor
Andrus. Yeah. Yes.
And then who else do we have? Jeff.
Vic. You don't think Vic did it? Yeah, Vic may have been gone. But I beat some strong dudes. Yeah, dude.
You beat some of the players too, man.
Yeah, beat a bunch of players.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a set of hamstrings. That's it, though. Everything else after that is broke. Oh, shoot. I got a T-shirt that says everything hurts. You'll know what that's like someday. All right. So, we've talked about all of that. All right. So now what are 3 or 4 things that you think are essential for developing fast, explosive, powerful players, and why?
Well, I guess first and foremost, the name of the game is force. So I think, rate of force development is probably the number one, how fast and how much. If you got a guy that can produce a lot of force really quickly, then he's probably going to be a pretty good football player.
Yeah.
Or at least put himself in position to be there.
Right.
That's why we look at impulse a lot, because that's going to tell you, you got a high impulse and you're probably more of a twitchy guy and can get down. But rate of force development is huge. That's why we Olympic lift too, and do everything else and lift heavy weights and things like that. It's all about generating force. I think the ability to change direction is another one. And if you'd asked me this 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have gave you that answer. But seeing it now and guys that can change direction are usually very good football players. That's the same thing with force. It's not really, I won't say rate of force development, but I don't like saying the ability to absorb force when you're changing direction. It's more so withstand. I don't want an athlete to bend his knee all the way down to get somewhere. So just the ability to withstand force, making turns.
Eccentrically and isometric, dynamic isometric contractions or explosive isometric.
Exactly. Just being able to get in and out of it. And some guys got it and some guys don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
But I think rate of force development, change of direction. And then kind of my last little pillar, I guess, is like an athlete being able to self-organize. An athlete has to be able to figure it out. We could put all these constraints and things on them and teach him everything, but he's got to be able to figure it out. And, the guys that can, they become way more efficient movers. They become more efficient football players and lifters and things like that. Mm-hmm. And they start to kind of flourish. I think Dan Cleaver writes about it. There was a study they did about these old ironsmith workers, probably from Pittsburgh. They used to, they would beat on this, I don't know, nail or whatever iron workers beat on. And they looked at like 20 guys, and the strike itself usually was the same, the outcome, but the movement of the hammer itself was different for a lot of the times, like the angle, the speed. So, and it was kind of going into, the guys that can do more with less in terms of being self-organized, things like that, are usually your better athletes. They figure it out. So,
Yeah.
and it's hard to coach, because you want to put constraints on everything and have everything so, but sometimes, man, you just got to say, hey, this is what we're doing, figure it out. Like
Yeah.
we're jumping over hurdles, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think you allow athletes to do that, and they become a little bit more efficient, and that there's never nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I was listening to the Les Spellman podcast the other day, and he talked about when he was a younger coach, he really, really, really dove into the technique of all the different speed improvement drills and the stance, the start, acceleration phase. And the older he's gotten, the less he coaches that aspect of it. And he said that when they're performing a new skill, he has a policy of letting the person try the skill 3 or 4 times before intervening and offering any coaching. And he finds that people figure it out. Clay's baseball coach in college he would always tell them, figure it out, and that's, and that there's a lot to be said about that. Yeah. Self-organized. I like that. Now, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I think the biggest, the best example I think about is, and you can remember this, is remember lateral A skips we would do all the time?
Yeah.
First couple reps were terrible, but then you give them a third rep and all of a sudden, boom,
yeah,
they got it, and sometimes, you just got to let the kid figure it out, and that's going to help them in the game and everything else.
It's like when you're flipping those heavy tires.
Oh, yeah. That's a perfect example. Yeah.
You got to figure it out, man. You got to figure out that leverage point, and you got to get that, it's tough, and you'll see a guy lift it and try to lift it, and it won't even break off the ground. And then you'll see him 3 or 4 times, and then all of a sudden he figures it out, and boom, that tire comes off the ground. He buries it. Same type of stuff. You said something, and we're going to go to the next question, and I thought a lot about it. You were talking about the racehorses. Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who no matter what you threw at him, he adapted. So the only thing that Clyde did not adapt to was a lack of work. If you remember, we had 2 running backs. And so when it was Nick Brossette and Clyde. And so they were neck and neck with RSI and all of that stuff. But when, Nick had a great game against Miami, so his reps in practice after the first game increased, because what they said was they're going to let them both play, and then whichever one got hot, they're going to give him the ball. So Nick had a great game, rushed for like 200 yards against Miami in the opening game of the season. So then Nick was named the starter and ended up rushing for 2,000 yards that year. But the more reps that Nick got in practice, Clyde's RSI went down. And then the more reps that Nick continued to get, his RSI went down. So Nick responded negatively to high loads, and Clyde responded positively to high loads. And that's sometimes why, all this information that you get, what might be true for one guy is not true for the other, because we all have a different genetic makeup.
Yeah. And I think that's huge. That's the name of the game right there.
You have to individualize it and look at people. And I think it was, I don't know who I was talking to. He mentioned it on our podcast. I think it was Jake. Jake mentioned it in his podcast, where, you can't really look at all of this information as a team, because people like Nick and Clyde respond differently to load.
Yeah.
And so
that's what we started doing here. And I got it from Coach Ballou originally, and I kind of put my twist on it. But we do it when we get in season, and coach, the position coaches want response reports and things like that, like this guy working. So I started doing what I call just a 3-tier system. So, if they're I got this little Excel formula I figured out how to make. And when I input the data, so the guy's name will come up red if his load is spiked 10%. Off a 3-week rolling average. So if his load spikes 10%, he'll get flagged. So I'll see his name. And then I'll go in and
you
look.
did that yourself?
Yeah. I figured that out. How about that? And so if it spikes 10%, I'm going to go in and look at the RSI.
Yeah.
And, if the RSI is down 10%, then I'm going to go look at mean velocity from the lift. If that's down 10%, then I'll go, meet the position coach. If those responses are up or not down, there's no reason. He's fine.
Right.
And that's why I think I talked to you about it. Is they need load. Kids need, these athletes need load. And like you said, Clyde responds negatively to no load. So and I got some kids like that too. That if you don't stress them, and if it's an easy practice and they're not getting a lot of reps, and they're going to feel kind of like lethargic and things like that coming in the next day. And that's just because how the CNS works and things like that. But I think they need load. Every athlete needs some type of stress.
All right. So can you explain to me and our listeners your tweet of ride the wave?
Yeah. So kind of the same thing, man.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, it's just, that's just how your program should work. You should stress the athlete, overreach just a hair, and you're going to beat them into the way I explained it here, to the guys here, I said, listen, guys, February is my month. Okay, February is my month. I get to do whatever I want, and you're going to feel like crap all the time. Okay, and that's just how it's going to be. And once you get past that, I promise you in March, you're going to feel like $1 million. And, and that's the way it is when you train kids or any type of program, not just football, any type of legitimate strength and conditioning program. You're going to load, pull back, load, and you're just going to ride the wave. You're going to have peaks and valleys. They're going to feel.
And don't panic.
Don't panic. Do not panic. You're going to stress it because any applied stress, right? The body's got to adapt. The SAD principle, specific adaptation to impose demands. You're going to stress them, and the body's going to have to go through this whole process, and it's going to beat them up. They're going to be slower. The CNS is going to be taxed, everything else. But once they overcome that, get adapted to it, then they're going to shoot right back up. And then you got to add more, or add something different. You either got to add more volume or add different exercise.
Yeah, that's part of supercompensation. And that's what Verkhoshansky called the long-term lagging training effect.
Yeah. I just read about that, by the way. Well, I just read that term. I knew what it was. I just heard Verkhoshansky's term of it.
Yeah, long-term lagging training effect. And so if there is no disruption of homeostasis, and if you cruise along and you don't stress them, then there's no supercompensation.
And then you put them at risk for injury as soon as you impose stress.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. As soon as
and that's what I tell these guys is like, volume is one thing with practice. Volume, yes, it's a huge concern, but to me, it's more the intensity. Like if you get thrown into the fire, you haven't been exposed to it in a structured type of way, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
it's a wrap. So,
if you haven't sprinted a certain threshold at a certain velocity over a period of time, the first time you go to sprint, something's going to break.
Oh yeah.
Or it might not happen immediately, but after consecutive days of that, something's going to give.
Yep.
Good deal.
That's why
you've done a great job explaining that. I appreciate it. It makes my heart go pitter patter. All right. So real quick, last thing. Who taught you more in Excel, Vic or Travis?
Oh, hey, I give it to Travis, man. Vic was more of like a figure it out guy. Like he would show me, but it was like one time and it was over. Yeah. I bugged the hell out of Trav.
Yeah.
I didn't mind making Trav mad. I didn't want to make Vic mad.
Yeah.
But Trav is the wizard.
Yeah. Good deal. Shout out, Trav,
Yeah.
T. Roy. All right. So how much skill development work are y'all doing this time of the year, and how is it structured? Let's say technical and tactical work are y'all doing this time of the year?
So technical wise, we're twice a week, 45-minute sessions. It was kind of a little fuzzy this year. The first 4 weeks, we went Wednesday, Thursday, or excuse me, Wednesday, Friday. So I was able to sprint the guys on Monday and Thursdays.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 4 weeks in, it gets flipped on its head. And now we go Monday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I've had to restructure our sprint days and things like that. But the cool thing is Coach Richard has really bought into when it's technical work, it's technical work. When it's tactical work, it's tactical work. And there's no guessing. You know what he wants.
Yeah.
And, you know, I met with him 2 weeks ago and was like, Coach, I need to run these guys just a little bit more. Can I do it after school development? Can we just do something? And he
That's
was like,
huge.
absolutely. Oh, yeah. He was like, absolutely.
That is huge.
Because it's really from a volume standpoint, we needed a little bit more, but also just like, I only get an hour, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Guys. I need a 2 hour.
You got to
session.
find a way. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, he actually he cut the fourth quarter tour duty. He's like, do you think we should do it this year? I was like, Coach, what do you want to get out of it? He's like, I want to get him in shape. I was like, if you want to get him in shape, then no, I'll take care of that. You know, we'll do some things. And he was all for it. So now, like on our Mondays, as soon as they finish skill development, we're going to go through 4 stations with the guys, and they're going to be change of direction, ricochet drill, a contact prep station, which I'm getting into. I'm on the fence about some of that stuff, but it's good stuff. And then I call it an angle run. But it's just change of direction and agility on Monday.
Yeah.
So we do 4 stations, about 6 or 7 minutes each station. So that's 30 extra minutes of work.
Yeah.
And good work, competition, you know, everything. So it's full speed reps.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday is more of we just run like 60s or 80s after. So kind of like it's not a tempo pace, but it'd be like an intensive tempo.
Yeah. Intensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we get our volume in there, and he's been great with it. It's been it's real simple when you have a head coach that's like, yeah, that's cool. As long as you think it works, you know?
Yeah.
So now we're able to get 2 hours worth of work with these guys. So now we go to our first practice, and it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. We've been there, done it, you know?
Yeah. Good.
So,
that is awesome, man. And that way you don't have to worry about some position coaches not working their guys hard enough, or other position coaches doing too much. The head coach is in charge of it. He monitors it. And then the extra stuff you get to do your extra stuff. And I think that is the way the majority of people, or that is the direction that the majority of people are moving towards now, which is really good. I like that. All right. So, do you guys do any type of, in addition to that, any type of off-season running program like we did here? So you're not doing like a team run in the morning or late at night.
No, we did last year. We'd have our team runs at 7 a.m., but this year, you know, he wanted, we kind of scratched that. We still do a true tempo day, whether it's boxes or whatever on our Tuesday. So that's our true tempo.
That's the only additional running that you're doing.
And sometimes, like on that Wednesday, if the yardage from that skill development is up, I say, Coach, I don't need to run them. You know, I know what yardage I need. So like if I'm not, there's no reason for us to run them, and that's happened before.
That's awesome.
So, Coach, we don't need to do it. They're good. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Tuesday's a day we get some yardage in. It's not, you know, it's just a tempo day. We may run boxes. We may run some 60s or 80s or 110s. Well, not now. We're kind of at the back end of that, but in the beginning. Yeah. And then Friday, if we do anything, it's going to be a power conditioning. So tire flips, sled pushes. Volume's going to be low, but we'll get after it. You know.
All right. I tell you what. So we've talked a lot about the what that you do. Okay. And explained some of the how you do it, but can you go a little bit more in depth and talk about how, because we've kind of just touched on each thing. Can you kind of talk about how a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday, can you kind of organize it? Let's start with Monday, and let's go through a Monday and then to a Tuesday, then to a Wednesday.
So Monday, and this again,
because I'm writing all this down.
Well, Monday changed now because for the first 5 weeks we had, skill development was on
right.
certain day.
Yeah. How? Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Let's talk about how it is now.
So the first 5 weeks Mondays was our.
Wait. Let me time out. You tell me anything you want to tell me. How about that?
So, all right, the beginning of the block, Monday was our max velocity day. So we were sprint, and I know that's a little different, but I like going off because we lift on Saturday, so I'm not worried about the weekend break.
Yeah.
We come in on Monday flying around, max velocity day, no skill development. They come in, we're going to run some flying tens. We're going to time everything, so we got gates out there every day.
Yeah.
We're doing hurdles for on the field, we're doing flying tens, A-cell, D-cell. We're doing that on our Monday. Now the bigs, and I'll do like a curvilinear run just to get some volume in with the high speed threshold. Bigs will not do the curvilinear stuff. They're going to get all their in on that. We expand their A-cell, D-cell a little bit longer. So then we come in the weight room, so that's first. Long warm up, get them ready to go. Spend about 45 minutes outside. Come in. Everything's about velocity, vertical force. We're going to do hang cleans, hang snatches, sumo. So, not a lot. We don't do a lot of volume on these days. It's just really fast. We try to keep everything vertical. I like matching the vectors, I guess you call it, from the vertical and horizontal. That's another dang
knowledge bomb.
So we do that.
What about jerks? Any jerks that day?
No, I gotta teach these guys how to jerk. I tried in the summer, and I gotta do a better job.
Okay, all right,
but,
that's cool.
So that's really our Monday. Like we're gonna get in the weight room, get out. Now the bigs front squat too. The bigs will add a front squat in. Skill won't. And then Tuesday again, it's a big strength upper body day for us. We're gonna bench heavy. We're gonna get all the back work in, all the arm work in.
Yeah.
We do our tempo. So if there's some yardage we're missing from day one, we'll make it up. So we may run 4 boxes. I like boxes. I think Coach Jackson was over
Paul Jackson.
Yeah, I love him. Like he was. I don't know why people don't. I mean, if you look at the data, you get what you want out of it.
Yeah, that's right. So, hey, after Paul's podcast, I had a bunch of people. I actually had to write up a description of how the tempos are run. And I had a bunch of people ask me. I've been preaching about boxes forever. Paul Jackson mentions it in one podcast with me, and it blows up. But that's a great run, man. It's great.
I love it. So that'll be our Tuesday day is a big upper body tempo day for us. Wednesday, no weights, but we have skill development. Okay, we're going to do our extra running if we need it. Thursday is acceleration day, so we still got the gates out there. We're getting a 10-yard, 15-yard start. We're pushing sleds. I say it's acceleration / change of direction.
Yeah.
So we'll do ricochet drill that day. We'll do some bandit shuffles. I'm trying to think of what else. So then once we do that, again, about 45 minutes outside. Always going to start outside those speed days.
Hey, your ricochet drills, they're 10, 15 yards tops.
So we start with 5, then we're at 10 right now.
Yeah.
So
they love those, don't they?
You remember when you used to call them dings? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So we do that, and the players know it. Like from the time I start the warm up, like if you're on the line, if every step's not a rep, if you're not ready when I blow it, like any little thing, it's a ding, and the players know it.
Yeah.
So they know when they get the ricochet, they better be locked in, or every time they mess up, it's a ding. And it's funny because the first year we did it, it was like 80 up down. It's like 65 up down. Like it was crazy because it dings up down.
Yeah.
And then this past week was our best week. I think the most we did was like 26, which is
that's amazing.
That's every station, not just Ricochet. That's from the warm up
right.
to the.
That's unbelievable. There's got to be repercussions for guys making minimal mistakes. That's how you lose games.
Yeah, I think you said, or somebody said, effort without execution is still a misrep. Like I love
that's right.
Effort.
Yeah.
But like if you're not executing, then we're not getting better.
Let me tell you where I got that. I got that from, believe it or not, I got that from Aaron Osmus, a former athlete of mine, and Chris Carlisle. They started doing that at USC when Aaron and when Double A and Chris Carlisle from Tennessee went to USC. That's when they started doing it. And because guys were lackadaisical and stuff in the warm up. And so guys, if for every time they screwed up, that was a ding. And you get people's attention. Like if you tell somebody 5 times, do not stand on the line, and they stand on the line, there's a communication gap,
Yeah.
And so you got to get people's attention somehow, because that cost you games, man.
Oh, yeah. And they know it. Like once you don't need but 4 players to buy into it.
That's right.
You really, really care about it. And once that happens, it's like wildfire.
Yeah. And then coaching that's why you said you don't have to coach effort.
Yeah, no, you're right.
They understand. When you're dialed in mentally, you dial in physically. If you're not dialed in mentally and doing things like they're supposed to be done, how are you going to get the physical aspect of it out?
Exactly. And
awesome stuff. All right. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
Oh, no, you're good.
My bad.
But then we'll come in the weight room, and everything on Thursday is about rate of force development. So power clean, trap bar deadlift. If we jerk, it would be our jerk day. We push press now. The key thing.
Oh, okay, good.
Is matching. I'm trying to match the acceleration shin angle with kind of where we're at. So I love seeing, especially with the trap bar deadlift, you can really start to match those angles of not just the shin, but the torso and things like that. So keep everything horizontal. So we do our broad jumps and things like that. We power clean, trap bar, push press, barbell reverse lunge. So I do a single leg every day. So we reverse lunge there. We went heavy on those, which is pretty impressive,
Barbell or dumbbell?
Yeah, barbell.
Hatfield?
Not yet. Getting there.
Yeah.
Getting there. I think a heavy barbell reverse lunge is just as impressive to me as a heavy barbell step up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's also because, I don't know, that's another lineman.
Clay loves them. Hatfield reverse lunges. Clay loves them.
And so then we roll through that, and it's about Thursday's our violent day. I tell them if there's a day to be pissed off or put a rock in your shoe or whatever, it's Thursday's the day, guys. Like that's when I want you to come in just foaming at the mouth. And then we roll into Friday. It's our big squat day. So we were on the Hatch program. We're back to front for like 5 weeks, and guys just got strong as an ox. So we back squat heavy on Friday. We do some jumps, some vertical jumps, some box jumps. I did this thing this morning. I put out a Vertec, and I'm just going to leave it in the middle of the weight room. And if I tell somebody to go touch something, I'm just going to run. And, whoever has the highest touch at the end of the day wins. And then, so we'll flip tires, push sleds. I try to keep the volume low in terms of running. But it's definitely our power conditioning day. So volume's going to be low. Rest times will be a little low, and we'll be getting after it. Get in, get out, and they have fun, man. But I've had to switch that around. So, like I said, when they moved skill development, the first Monday I did max velocity. Then they went and did skill development, and that was not good. They were shocked. They were beat up, So I moved some things around, and it's been working though. Now our max velocity day is Thursday, or acceleration day, change of direction, is actually Monday. But I pull back on some. So Ricochet, we don't do that. We do that after skill development. So I've moved some things around. Now Tuesday is a squat day. Friday is my bench day.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's working so far. Having fun, man. Having lots of fun.
Well, all right. So we've touched on this quite a bit. 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 We've touched on this quite a b But I want to look back on the season now that it's behind you. What are some things that you feel are essential for in-season training and why? Like, your time at LSU, and then when you had an opportunity to do it on your own, and now you've sat back and looked at everything. What are some things that you're like, man, we've got to do this in season?
I think the big thing for me is don't be married to anything in season. Like, it's not, in my opinion, that's in season is a time for strength coaches to kind of pick the pieces up. They're with the position coaches, the head coach. So I think you really have to be dialed in, and you did a really good job of this. And I got it from you. Is you may have 80%, probably 70% on the board, but like they just got crushed at a Tuesday practice. So we may only hit 60%, and that's okay. So you can't, in my opinion, you can't get married to having. You got to be able to adjust on the fly.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, because you can really, you start having a hard day in the weight room and a hard day at practice, you're going to start adds up quick. And like I said, I learned that from you. You used to do a really good job. It was stressful because we'd be there and be like, okay, we see the workout, and then you come in and be like, hey, we're changing that, and be like, all right, cool.
That's because you look at the GPS. Yeah, you look at the GPS. You look at the force plate, and it's in season. I mean, they're there to play football. You know?
Yeah.
They're not. The off season is, like you said, it's the time to stress them. But in season, the primary goal is to be a good football team.
Yep. And I think,
and that's where things like Elite Form come into play. I would say, I don't want anybody going below this number. And then I'd go over there and look, I'd say, what are we doing? I said, it'd be like,
I remember that, because I do the same shit now. Or same stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then making sure your speed guys recover. So making sure any kid that's running over 21, you better watch him. You better make sure he's hitting it in practice. Now, what I saw, that running fast in the game is fantastic. That's what you want. You want to be as fast as possible. But you also have to realize, from my end, especially lifting on Sundays, those guys will be so fatigued from a central nervous system standpoint that you got to be careful.
Yeah.
And I noticed that with the jumps. Anytime we peak in our speed, or we run, let's say a kid, like I looked at some corner. We got some fast corners. I looked at corners, and anytime they went above like 93% of their max in a game, their jumps and everything was down for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And Tuesday.
Rodney, I don't know if you've talked to Rodney about it, but they found that. I think, was it Jake? I know it was Rodney said that whenever they had someone peak or hit, a high speed in a game, there was about a 3-day suppression.
Yeah, it was
an RSI mod.
Yeah,
I think it was Rodney. Yeah,
and that's huge for me is making sure those guys are taken care of, because those are going to be the ones that.
Those are your playmakers.
And if you're going to be fast again the following Saturday, you better get them recovered and not go overboard. So and it's crazy because you can look at the GPS and you can look at everything, but like I can tell the warm up where we're at.
Yeah,
I can tell, like, all right, we're fatigued as heck, or like that they're really loud and talking. Like, oh, we can get after it. You can tell. You don't need, the technology is great. It's fantastic. It puts everything on paper, but like you can have the coach's eye and know your guys enough to where you're like, we need to.
And I talk about this all the time, and it's especially true if you have 2 away games.
Mm-hmm.
And in that second game, you're playing, for us, well, it doesn't matter who you are. Let's say, for instance, you have an away game, and then you go play a big rival in an away game where everybody's hitting those max velos. And then you're traveling, and it's a 7:30 or 8 o'clock kickoff, And then you're traveling back, and you got a Sunday workout. that's tough because travel, it would be, that the travel is just as stressful as the game sometimes.
Oh man, yeah. You ever been to Murray State? You know where Murray State is?
Man, I played at Tennessee Tech. Yeah, I've been to Murray State. Hey, don't talk about Murray State now. It's an OVC. Yeah, I've
So
been to Murray State.
we
Did y'all
drove
take a
up.
bus? Did y'all
Oh
take a
yeah,
bus? Yeah.
oh yeah. And then lift. We got back at like 5
Yeah.
a.m., 6 a.m., and then 4 o'clock lift. So yeah, you better pay attention. You better,
Yeah.
And honestly, if you feel like crap, that your team probably could. If I'm tired and all, like, well, they're probably going to be like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to take care of those racehorses, and just make sure they're ready to be a racehorse again on Saturday.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Hey, we took a bus to Youngstown, Ohio, and Akron, Ohio. We took buses. When I was young, we took buses everywhere. We took buses to Statesboro, Georgia, to play Georgia Southern and Tracy Ham, and got our butts kicked. Took buses right back. And the bus would stop, halfway, and we'd be on the side of the interstate, and we'd get off the bus, and they'd pull coolers out from underneath the bus and give us a Coca-Cola and a Snickers bar and say, "Get back home, boys." Yeah, so I know all about going to
bus
Murray
rides
State.
ain't no joke, man. Which I played at Jackson State, so we took a bus. We didn't fly anywhere. We drove all over. When I went to a D2 school after that, we drove everywhere. So
yeah,
just another day at the office for me.
Yeah, amen. What about conditioning during practice? Who's responsible for that? Or is there any conditioning in practice?
Yeah, we don't, unless they piss coach off, we're not going to run. Because the tempo at which we practice at is, and that tempo, and I was thinking about it earlier, I wish I did a better job my first year. Is like, you remember how I used to tell guys, like, hey, I don't want anybody standing around. You're super set, you're doing something. So I did the same thing here, but they take it so literal. Like, dude, they'll do like a set of something, do their superset, and boom, like that. And that's how practice is. Like, there's no, oh yeah, no. Mm-mm. Now, when we have a break halfway through practice, so you hear a double horn, they can lay down, they can sit down, they can do whatever they want for 5 minutes. But when we're practicing, it is practice, and it is hard. And we don't have to condition them. Now we do check the speed guys. We'll throw them in on special teams or kickoff or something. But no, we don't. The way we practice takes care of conditioning. And I like it that way. I don't want to have to run the guys after.
Yeah. That should be a part of practice organization. Because you play like you practice.
Absolutely.
All right. We know that, there's a lot more to your success, the team's success, than programming and X's and O's. Okay. And in a lot of situations, it's more about how you get your message across and your communication to the team and the coaches. Can you talk about some strategies that you have developed now that you're a young coach? Like, talk about how you communicate to the staff and to the team to get your message across. How does Coach Rodriguez allow you to do it? How do you talk to the coaches? Things that you do with the team, anything that you do to get that message across.
I think, with my staff first is, and you're going to laugh because you've said this 50,000 times, but the first thing they know we do is we coach every rep of every set.
Yeah.
That's like, everybody talks about philosophies and pillars. That's my one rule. That's my philosophy. We coach every rep of every set. And the players know that. And then, I think, and again, you said this, is we got to calculate an attitude that we want those guys to have, and we got to have that attitude first. And, we do that with my staff. That's my two big ones. That's non-negotiable for me from a staff standpoint. And I think the players see that. They see us being locked in. They see the energy, and they match it. Now, in terms of getting the message across to the players and creating a culture of just hard work and doing the right thing is, I told them when I first got the job, I was just like, listen, guys, give me 6 weeks. Do what I tell you to do for 6 weeks, how I tell you to do it to the best of your ability, and you're going to be bigger, faster, stronger. And if you're not, fire me. We'll figure it out. And, they were, like I said, they were eager to be trained, and that's all it took, honestly, Coach, is 6 weeks. And now it's it. That's the program. And Coach Richrod makes the weight room extremely important. The players know he cares about the weight room. So in turn, they care about the weight room. And he's got 2 rules, and I carry him in the weight room, is we're not going to lie to you, we're not going to BS you, and we're not going to waste your time. So when you're here,
I like that. Yeah.
No, it's been huge. So when you're here for the hour and 15 minutes, you're here. Everything else, you leave it at the door. And you show up with your shoes tied, and we're going to work. And the players have been great, and and I think, and I don't really talk about it a lot, but going to an HBCU for the 2 years that I did, man, I was able to see all different types of walks in life and be a part of things and learn how to communicate with everybody, and I think that's one thing I do well, in my opinion, is I think I communicate with everybody well. Like, it's not just, I can talk to anybody, and I think you start to show guys that and build those relationships and build trust. Because once, and you know this, once they trust you, they'll do anything in the world for you. Once they trust you, they will do anything you want to do. And you just got to show them you care. And it may be little things. Like a story I think I'll always remember now is, so we got 3 practice fields across the way here, and we tore it up day 1 of camp. Tore like divots everywhere. I sent you a picture. Yeah. So I went. I'm not gonna let these kids practice in divots. So I went. Me and my staff went to the beach volleyball court right here. Filled up 5-gallon buckets of sand. Went out to the field. Started putting them in. Well, some of the players saw it, and I didn't know anybody was out there. I didn't know that the players saw it. And man, they held like a meeting after practice, and was just talking to just player only now. And they came back and told me that meant so much to them. Like, filling them in divots just meant the world. Like, and
care. You care.
Yeah, just
showing people that you care.
Yeah, and so that's really been it. Is tell them, give me 6 weeks, and they did it, and everything worked out. They got bigger, faster, stronger, and I hold my staff to a standard, and this that we don't have off days. I'm not going to let you have an off day. You better fake it. You better fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it.
We're going to ask the players to be here and be engaged. We're going to be here and be engaged from start to finish. And then, Coach Richrod loves that. He, like I said, he cares about the weight room. Every day, I'm the first one he talks to in the staff meeting. Coach Blake, what do you got? How are we looking? Do you need anything?
Wait, he calls you Coach Blake and not Badger?
Well, I usually calls him Meathead. That's what he calls me all the time. It's a meathead. I'm like, dude, come on, man. It's important to him.
Yeah.
He's a big record guy. Like, we have records here, and the players see that, man. I'm telling you, it's fun. The kids love it. And again, the standard they have for themselves, and that we hold them to in terms of working hard. Like, if you don't work hard, you will stand out. And I'm not just saying that. Like, if you don't work hard, you will not fit in here. And you'll learn it real quick. You'll be like, dang it. Like, you'll see, we get some portal kids in or whatever, and you'll see them, their eyes be like this big. Like, what is going on? Like, why are these kids, working so hard? And it's just, that's just it.
Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, that's the difference. That carries over to the games. It carries over to every aspect of their life.
Yep.
And you're developing strength and endurance that will stand the test of time. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't go away.
No. And we won 9 games. It always helps when you win too. So we won 9 games.
Oh, yeah.
Won 9 games. I think we we had to be like top 5 in the country in rushing, and we had a D2 transfer at right guard, a walk-on at left tackle, and a walk-on at right tackle. So, like, you know, we wasn't just stepping off the bus, just looking like me. You know, we had a bunch of regular-looking Joes.
Yeah, got a bunch of Tommy Moffitts. Whew. All right. Any advice for young coaches or anybody wanting to get into strength and conditioning?
Yeah. And you told me this is work as hard as you can wherever you're at. Don't worry about the next step. Be where your feet are. And that worked for me. You know, and now where I'm at is more. Just know that the head coach sees everything. The head strength, you know, whoever you're working for, the head strength coach, the head football, they see everything. You may not know it. You may be built up and mad and whatever. They see everything. Like I see everything here. You've seen everything when I work.
Body language.
And body language. And, you know, you show up to work every day. It don't matter. Feelings don't matter. Leave it at the door. When you're at work, you're working, you know, and just work hard. And I know it's kind of a cliche answer, but that's really all I did. I don't think I'd ever do anything special, but work hard, you know?
Yeah. What about books or podcasts or?
I'm a big book guy. I just finished the Verco book. I tell you, the special
planning, organization of training or super training.
No, I haven't. I tried reading super training. I read it one time and didn't retain anything. So that's another one I'm trying to go tackle. But the special.
Strength training exercises for sport.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. It's a great one.
I read that.
So the 2 Verkhoshansky books, the planning and organization of training, and then the special strength training exercises for sport. I think super training is a combination of those 2 books, if I'm not mistaken. That's kind of how Mel Siff and Dr. Verkhoshansky did it.
Remember those? I had a copy. The old Russian press, I think it's like Soviet press. I read those.
Sportoviny Press. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I read those articles all the time. Those are huge for me.
They're great books.
You'll learn a lot from those. And then podcasts, I listen to this one. And then my guy.
Shout out, Moffitt Method Podcast.
Moffitt Method. And then this podcast called Toes Behind the Line. It's by Gio Grassi, maybe. He's a strength coach at Fordman. Is that in New York? I think.
Don't ask me.
I don't know. Anyway, it's Toes Behind the Line. It's really good. Rodney's been on there a couple times. He had your boy at Cal, Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson.
Had him on there. He does some good stuff.
Coach B.
Coach B, yes, sir.
Coach B does some good stuff, man. He led off the Moffitt Method podcast. He was the first one out the gate.
I thought Trickett recruited him, but Trickett didn't. He was after Trickett.
No. Yeah, Stacy Searles. And Jimbo's actually the guy that recruited him.
You know Stacy pretty well?
That's my man.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about him. Yeah. I guess he GA'd or something.
He GA'd for Coach Trickett. Trickett drills. So Stacy's the one that said, fake it till you make it. Stacy Searles and I. So, you know, that's what's great about coaching and coaching anywhere, coaching in high school, coaching college, and I'm sure coaching in the NFL is the same way. You know, you meet so many great people that have such a great influence on you in your life and in your kids, you know, like my kids grew up with Stacy Searles smacking them in the head, you know. Hey, so let me tell you the story. It's kind of bad, but Searles, so at one time, Muschamp and Searles lived on the street that I live on. And so when Searles left LSU to go to Georgia, Clay took a bar of soap and Clay and Aaron, as little kids, rode their bicycle at night down to Searles' house. He left here to go to Georgia, and they took soap and they wrote Bulldog Suck on his truck. Oh, that was so funny. So yeah, Stacy Searles is a great friend. And so it was funny. So he took over at LSU after George Yarno. I guess, yeah, he took over for George Yarno. So it was Trickett, Yarno, then Searles, and then after that, Coach Stud. But yeah, Stacy's a good man. Well, I appreciate it, man. It's been great.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, great talk, big dog. Thank you very much for doing this a second time.
Yeah. Hopefully it was better than the first.
Yeah. Well, the first time we just had audio problems.
Yeah, it was the first. It was the first of the first. So
it was the first Moffitt method recording, and I didn't know what I was doing. But you got to start somewhere, you know. I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm still faking.
Have you got any new equipment since then, or is that the same mic and everything?
No, everything's the same. Everything's the same, but I have this thing. It's called a Roadcaster. It's a mixing board. You can't see it over here, but I have like this mixing board, and it's just a matter of getting all that stuff right. And then you having good Wi-Fi and you having good headphones. So that's the trick, you know.
Is that Clay's dog on the bed behind you? I didn't even notice it.
My dog now. Clay's got his sister. So Boone, all right. So Boone. So look at it. So that's Clay's former hunting dog, who is antisocial. He's half blue heeler, half lab, and you talking about a loyal dog and a good dog, smart, great retriever. He just didn't get along with everybody in the duck blind, you know. Boone has trust issues, and he's got trust issues, and he doesn't like fake people.
Now, would he go get the ducks and stuff, or like?
Oh yeah, he would retrieve. Great swimmer. He's strong, great swimmer. But his sister is a savage. She is. So her name is Senna. So Clay got Boone. Brooke got Senna. So Clay was on the road traveling all the time, and you know Aaron was in Waco, and so Boone was at the house by himself all the time. So I'd go get him because Clay's working, you know, and so I'd go get him, and then Brooke brought her dog to Clay's house, Senna, and Senna's retrieved 24 ducks in a day, and she's got some double and triple retrieves. She swam down and got them. So she is like him, but she doesn't bite people. She's a much sweeter. She's got more lab because they're mixed. She's got much more lab in her, and she's chocolate. She's a beautiful dog. And so I got Boone. I got genetic waste over here. But he's a phenomenal dog. Everywhere I go, he follows me through the house because the blue heeler he's so loyal. And so he sits up here with me, and then when I leave, he'll follow me. He follows me everywhere I go.
That's awesome.
Great dog. And so I was recording a podcast not long ago, and the window's open over here so he can see out the window. And something happened, and I'd forgotten because I forget he's here because the door's open and he comes and goes. So I didn't even know he was here, and something happened outside, and he went nuts because when when somebody comes up to the house that he doesn't know who they are, he'll bite them, you know. So he goes nuts, and it scared the crap out of me. I mean, I jumped. I haven't edited that podcast yet, but I jumped. It freaked me out. But yeah, he's a great guard dog. So that's Clay's old dog. That's my new dog.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you can follow Coach Blake McCall on Twitter at bmccall_13. Okay, bmccall_13. Please tell your beautiful fiance that I said hello.
I will. Right? We will.
And I know behind every great coach is a very strong woman, and I know that she's kicking your butt, so that's good. And then tell Coach Rich Rod, Coach Trickett, my main man, Randy Pippin, and Thane, that we all said hello and good luck this off season. And make sure, we talked about this earlier, but make sure that you don't believe or listen to anything that Coach Pippin tells you about me, because none of it's true. Okay. I promise. I promise. So tell them all I said hello and good luck. Okay.
I will, Coach.
Okay. All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Take
Yes,
care.
sir.
All right. Bye-bye. This next segment gives you, the listener, coaches, and athletes a chance to ask questions regarding this podcast, the Moffitt Method program, or anything strength and conditioning. Please email or DM us on social media with any questions that you might have. I have 2 questions today from Coach Steve, 2 really good questions, and one that I've covered once before, I think, in an episode, and that's, what's your best advice for young strength coaches? And I've been asked this question 1,000 times, and I'm going to keep answering it. Because I spent my career devoted to young coaches, I used to tell people all the time, in addition to coaching great athletes, it's part of our responsibility to develop young strength coaches as well. So my advice is, number 1, to keep your expectations in check and focus on the process of becoming the best coach that you can be, first and foremost. I think that's critical. Blake talked about it a little bit in this episode. Time, knowledge, and experience is power. And as a young coach, you have the ability to control all of those, especially, the guys that, aren't married yet. Take your time, gain as much knowledge and experience as you can, because it's power. Become a strong communicator and know your subject matter well. That's critical. You got to know what you're talking about. And it doesn't matter if it's in football, basketball, volleyball, baseball. You got to know the subject matter and be able to break it down so that young men and women can understand it and then go out and perform it. That's critical. And then take your time, be a sponge. And as Jason Elkins said in this week's episode, do plain vanilla great. Don't worry about all the fancy stuff that we talked about here today. First of all, you got to do plain vanilla great. Find your little niche in there and work hard at it. And then Steve's next question is, what was my opinion, or what is my opinion on front squat versus back squat? And I think they're both very good exercises and could easily be subbed out with each other in any strength and conditioning program. If I had my choice, just like Coach McCall talked about today, I would do both. They're both exceptional, and they have just enough of a different stimulus that when combined, develop your lower body, your thoracic area, and your total body strength as well as anything out there. So at LSU in the Moffitt Method program, and you heard Blake talk about it today, we combine the back squat and the front squat on our leg day. So big believer in them both. They both are foundational exercises in our program. And by doing both, you get the best of both worlds. Technique, of course, is the most important aspect of strength training. How you perform the exercises is critical, and technique is paramount. And so take your time and teach both of those exercises, well, and understand that they're different. They're not the same exercise. So you got to coach them a little different. So thank you, Steve, for the questions. This brings us to the end of today's podcast. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please, if you haven't already done so, follow the podcast and share it with your friends. Please check out our website at themoffittmethod.fit and our Instagram and Twitter accounts. Have a great day, be strong, and we'll see you again next week.